Back, we continue live right here on Pittsburgh CW. Bob Pompeani, Ron Cook join us each and every Sunday night. We'll have a lot to talk about. We'll be through 2 rounds to the Sweet 16 on the NCAA Tournament. That's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, Sunday night, 11:35. Ron will be a part of the panel that night. We'll have a lot of stuff to talk about with the Penguins as well as they continue to go down the stretch. Right now, the 2 games in hand is big, I think. Washington, same amount of points. 2 games in hand is hard to make up, although one of those is head-to-head.
Bob, I'm not really worried about where they finish in the standings. I just want to see how they're playing in these last 10 games. Get everybody healthy, get Murray back, get him rolling. I don't think it matters who they play, where they play. I think they have a real chance to win it all again, but I think you need the goaltender back. Yeah, even though Jari, got the win tonight, DeSmith has been okay. Neither one of those guys is Matt Murray.
No, and hopefully he'll be back by next week. That's a speculation that once they come home, they play back-to-back games again next week, and they have a Tuesday game Wednesday at home against the Canadiens. Maybe he'll return home for that. 412-575-2600. Let's go to the lines. Harry, Westview is our first caller tonight. Hey, Harry.
Yeah, hey, Buffalo just came off the court. Their coach, Nate Oates, just gave a real nice quote, a real good soundbite, talking about how he thinks it doesn't matter what seed he is against Arizona, his guys think they're better. And they also mentioned his work ethic. And I wonder, do you guys ever heard about a coach who just signed a contract, which he did like 2 days ago, ever being outbid by another university?
I don't know. He signed a new deal. Is that what he's saying about Buffalo? I don't know anything about the guy at Buffalo. Nothing would surprise me. These coaches sign contracts. Nothing means anything to them. If somebody else swoops in and gets them.
I haven't seen them play.
I don't either.
But they're playing pretty well because they have the lead over Arizona early in that game, but it's still halftime.
Arizona wins this. Sean Miller, they play Kentucky next. How about that for a round of 32 game, Kentucky-Arizona? That would be fun. That would be fun,
but that's the NCAA probably saying, okay, boys, battle it out because both of you are not on a good list.
Both aren't going to get to the Final Four, that's for sure.
They made it hard. Line 3 we go, and that would be Marilyn in Munhall. Hello, Marilyn.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make a comment on how great I think it is that Pittsburgh is considered a premier city, that they have March Madness and teams playing here in our city for us.
Duquesne does a very nice job hosting it. They've done this before, and they do a very good job, and it's good to see so many people. Economically, it's great for the region.
And the key is PPG Paints Arena, because we wouldn't have it with the old arena. That arena is just spectacular. The more I'm in it, the more I love it.
Yeah, and it's totally different with basketball. You get to see different parts of it, unlike hockey or any other kind of event. So it's good to see that. Line 4 we go. It's Toni in Brookline joining us right now on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. Hey, Toni.
Yeah, guys, I just wanted to make a comment on last night's game, Malkin's penalty shot.
Yeah.
Did you notice how he went down the ice real slow? It looked like he was in slow motion. Don't you think that's an advantage to the goalie? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't like that. He has never been very good at that, the penalty shots. Early on in his career, for the first 4 or 5 years, I remember saying he didn't like it. He said, I'm no good at it. I don't want to do it. I think he's gotten a lot better at it, but I agree with you. That was not a great effort on his part. And, to me, he's the MVP of the league. He had a goal and an assist tonight. But that's the type of goal last night, 10 seconds left. That's what you want to see an MVP guy get to win the game.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about that is that Alexander Georgiev is a new goaltender, and he may not know anything about him. Maybe he does, or maybe sometimes it's like going against a pitcher. If you're a baseball team, you've never seen him, and you're trying to figure out little nuances. Who knows? But, Malkin still is a guy who I think I agree with.
Big-time player.
Better in those situations. That could have won the game, but they lost the game not because of that, but because of the way they played the third period. That was a bad effort on their part after having the lead. Let's go to line 2, Brandon in Munhall. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, Bob?
What's up, Brandon?
Hey, I just wanted to know what you guys think about how the Pens are looking going into the playoff push.
Inconsistent right now. I want to see more. They've had a pretty good stretch, Brandon, at one point, but maybe it's just because there's too many games and, they've gone up and down. Tonight they had a lot of dominance here. I think they outshot Montreal like 37-14.
Real bad, yep.
So, Ron, but I agree that they need to get all facets of their game, especially 5-on-5 going.
They need to get the goaltender back. That's the #1 thing for me. The guys won 2 cups for him, so steady, so proven in the playoffs, and not that Jari and DeSmith haven't done a nice job. To me, they not only need to get Murray back, but they needed to get him some work and get him ready to go.
One guy who's been really under the radar good is Ole Mata. He hasn't missed a game this year. One of the reasons why I think is because he hasn't had injuries to deal with. He had a whole offseason, as small as it was, to get ready, and you're seeing the benefits. He even looks faster than he did the last couple of years, which, again, is a product of not having an injury. Chip in Carrick joins us right now on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Go ahead, Chip.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good. What's up?
Hey, I wanted to ask about Pitt's coach. I saw Tom Crean signed with Georgia, and I was wondering if you guys thought that they might hire a coach who dresses like an adult.
Okay. 412-575-2600. One thing about Tom Crean, he has an ability, you know, some people don't like his perceived cockiness, but he has an ability to recruit, and I think that's where it all starts in college. If you can recruit and bring people in and then develop those people, and he's done that at both places, Marquette and Indiana. Started with Dwayne Wade back. Do you remember, were you in the Metrodome when we went there to see Pitt play? And they played.
I was not at that game.
I was at that. Maybe it was Gene Collier, because we flew
Marquette
out
beat
together.
them. I mean, yeah.
But that was
Crean has a lot of energy, a lot of personality. Some, as you said, some people he rubs the wrong way, and you also know he's married to a Harbaugh. So he's married to Jim and John Harbaugh's sister. But you know, he got fired at Indiana. I think he made the playoffs the tournament 4 times in 9 years, I want to say. He wasn't an overwhelming success at Indiana, I know that.
But he can recruit, and that's the #1 issue, I think, when it comes to all college. You got to be able to recruit.
He's going to be recruiting for Georgia now, not Pitt.
We'll see. But I think it's their, you know, it's an ability to win in the SEC, and he can do that a little quicker because there aren't that many great teams normally in the SEC. We're going to take a break, come back with more. When we come back, we will continue to talk about the hoop scoop. Anything else is fine with us. Call us at 412-575-2600 or right here on our hotline. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.